Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. We're going to take an investigative look at a pretty shocking revelation, the idea that our current era might have actually already exhausted its entire timeline. We're talking about a profound cosmic audit, one that suggests the actual ledger of human history is fundamentally different from what we've all been taught. I mean, most of us just assume we have hundreds of thousands of years left on Earth, right? Like, we've got this endlessly long runway for humanity to eventually figure things out. But what if our time has already been spent? Imagine if our timeline wasn't some guaranteed schedule, but more like a massive cosmic bank account that we have just been continuously overdrawing. And that brings us to this dramatic drop to exactly 5,000 years. According to the ancient scriptures of the Bhavishya Malika, this timeline correction completely shatters our modern assumptions. The texts are super clear here. We aren't at the beginning of a long era. We have actually hit its absolute endpoint. So, to understand exactly how we got here, we're going to forensically examine this cosmic ledger across 5 steps. We'll look at the final cosmic audit, deducting time through sin, symptoms of the end, preservers of the prophecy, and finally, the dawn of Satya Yuga. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the final cosmic audit. Let's look at the timeline of our current era and see how it sets the stage for reality as we know it. So, the Bhavishya Malika focuses heavily on the Kali Yuga. If you're not familiar, this is the final, highly degraded age of the cosmic cycle. And originally, according to the scriptures, this era of moral decay was strictly allotted a lifespan of 432,000 years. Now that sounds like an absolutely unimaginable stretch of time, but there is a major mathematical catch. The Malika explicitly states that this timeline is not fixed. In a text called the Bhakti Pradayini, it says that the sheer weight of accumulated human wrongdoing physically compresses the age. Basically, the era burns through its time way faster than a standard calendar, shrinking in direct proportion to the moral decay of humanity. Which leads us to Section 2, deducting time through sin. The really crucial point here is how this cosmic bill is actually calculated, because it reads exactly like an itemized invoice. The Bhavishya Malika strictly records these exact mathematical deductions. For example, it charges humanity 100,000 years for the sin of cow slaughter, 40,000 years just for the betrayal of one's own brother, and 7,000 years for feticide. There are dozens of these specific deductions, covering everything from stealing grazing lands to misusing charity. Every single systemic violation of Dharma actively accelerates that clock. And look what happens when you tally up the immense weight of all those actions. A staggering 427,000 years have been deducted. That leaves exactly 5,000 years of Kali Yuga, time which, according to the Malika's calculations, we've actually already completely spent. The era is, for all intents and purposes, over. Moving on to Section 3, Symptoms of the End. With the timeline officially exhausted, we transition into this terrifying phase known as the 22 Hells, a series of specific, escalating crises that map perfectly to our modern world. And it's vital to note that these precise symptoms weren't just vaguely guessed at. They are permanently etched in authentic palm leaf manuscripts and scriptures, written hundreds of years ago and preserved incredibly meticulously by the tradition. So, according to the Bhavishya Malika, the natural elements, the Panchabhuta, will rebel. The texts predict extreme climate upheaval, where the weather essentially forgets its own calendar, describing 6 seasons compressed into 13 days. The scriptures even literally describe the melting of the polar ice regions at the northern and southern ends of the Earth due to intensifying heat. I mean, does that sound familiar to anyone? On top of that, the Malika states will witness the fracturing of civilization itself. We're talking about families breaking apart across generations, deep conflicts between fathers and sons, husbands and wives. The texts describe trust completely dissolving into hypocrisy, and even the emergence of 64 types of severe, widespread epidemics that will totally baffle modern medical science. Okay, Section 4, Preservers of the Prophecy. To understand why this specific, urgent knowledge is resurfacing right now, we have to look at the authorities actually guarding this ancient wisdom. These Bhavishya Malika teachings have been researched, preserved, and shared all over India and internationally by Pandit Dr. Shri Kashinath Mishra. He's the head and guiding authority of the Sanatana Dharma Seva Trust and a highly revered scholar of the Jajapur Mukhya Pandit lineage who has literally spent decades dedicated to this wisdom. Alongside the Sanatana Dharma Seva Trust, their mission is completely straightforward. They aren't trying to interpret or modify the teachings. They simply want to make the authentic, unaltered scriptural texts available to humanity before the deadline. They're here to warn and prepare us for the massive transition that is already underway.
Which brings us to Section 5, Dawn of Satya Yuga. This is the ultimate resolution of this explainer. What happens next, and how exactly do we prepare for it?
Well, the Bhavishya Malika declares that humanity is currently enduring a severe transitional cleansing. The texts indicate that a destruction phase actually began in 2020 with massive planetary shifts and catastrophic upheavals expected around 2025. And this entire turbulent period is paving the way directly for the dawn of a new era of truth, the Satya Yuga, by the time we hit 2032. But, the scriptures don't just predict doom and gloom. They offer a very clear path to safety. To survive this cosmic audit, the texts mandate a strict spiritual remedy of 3 foundational practices. Number 1, practicing Trisandhya, a daily routine of specific prayers. Number 2, incessantly chanting the Madhavanam, which is the divine name of God. And 3, deeply studying the sacred scripture of the Srimad Bhagavat to purify your mind. And here is why this matters, and what you should really take away from this explainer today. Returning to a life of purity, compassion, and righteousness is literally the only protective shield during this apocalyptic transition. Giving up toxic habits and fully embracing Dharma isn't just about personal piety. It is the exact survival mechanism prescribed for the coming years. The final calculations are in, according to the Bhavishya Malika. The original 432,000 years have been mathematically exhausted. We are quite literally living in the overtime of a spent era. So as the world shifts right beneath our feet, it leaves us with one profound question. The ledger is closed. The time is spent. Will you be ready when the Satya Yuga dawns?